to begin, I think. Aloha and welcome to E Hana Kako, which means let's work together. We're a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. I'm so glad you're with us today. We call today's show Strength and Honor. Do you remember that scene with Russell Crowe in The Gladiator, where he's about to lead thousands of men into battle? Many of them are going to die, in fact, most of them, but they have a dream, a vision that they are doing something great for humanity, and it's because of strength and honor. Now, I can't say that exactly like Russell Crowe does, but I do have a gentleman here with me, a dear, dear friend, a man I respect deeply, who lives what strength and honor is all about. My guest today, and let me tell you who I am. I'm Keli'i Akina, president of Grassroots Institute of Hawaii. My guest today is Tenari Ma'afala, the president of the SHOPO, which is the State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers. He's the head of the union that represents the Hawaii State police officers in their negotiations. But he's far more than that. He's not merely a negotiator. He's a man who lives by the concept of strength and honor, and I have seen him at work, working in the lives of men and women on the force. And so today, we're going to talk about what it is to be such a leader of strength and honor. And so I hope that you will enjoy my dear friend, Tenari. Tenari, aloha.
Thank you, Dr. Akina.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here with us today, and you really represent something that I admire, and that is the ability to lead people. So thank you for all that you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity, and I'm humbled by this opportunity to sit and share the stage with you, so to speak. And it's such a great honor to speak on behalf of the men and women in blue who's tasked to protect and serve the people of Hawaii. So I don't just represent the police officers of Honolulu Police Department, but also Kauai, Maui, and the Big Island Hilo.
What a broad level of leadership. Later on in our program, we're going to talk a little bit more about what SHOPO is, what the police force is like. In fact, I hope you'll be able to let us know a little bit more about what police officers go through. But for now, let our viewers know a little bit about you. I mean, what brought you to who you are today? I'm sure your family had a good deal to do with that.
Well, first and foremost, without being religious here, I'm a God-fearing man.
Sure.
That's my foundation, and my parents have always raised us to love God first. And by loving God, it's almost automatic. You're going to love people. If you're going to follow the provisions of God to love everyone. And, you know, being a police officer going on 25 years, it's something that I've always wanted to do to help people. That's always been my passion. And having been raised in low-income homes like Nakatani housing, and later in my life at Merritt housing, where the rest of my siblings were born.
So you were raised here locally?
Born and raised here.
How about that? You're a Hawaii product, Hawaii through and through.
Yes.
So what was it like growing up in the low-income housing? Where'd you go to school, and how was that experience?
I went to Nanaikapono.
Right out there in Nanakuli.
Out in Nanakuli, from kindergarten to 5th grade.
How about that?
And then for a short while, maybe a year and a half in Waipahu, and then we ended up in Merritt housing in Keli'i, where the remainder of my siblings, there's 7 boys and 4 girls in my family. And both my parents migrated over to Hawaii from American Samoa.
What is it that brought you to the place where you are today, a police officer with distinction? You are the president of the Union of Police Officers. You know, there are a lot of people, and I don't mean anything negative about this, but people say when you're brought up in a low-income environment, mayor-right housing and so forth, you have all the odds against you. What do you think about that kind of statement? I mean, does that apply?
Well, first and foremost, not to sound religious, but like I said earlier, we're always raised to be a God-fearing, God-loving people within our household. So that itself carries over. By loving God and God loves people, that's what we've done. Even though being born and raised up in low-income homes, we had God-fearing, God-loving parents who raised us to make best with what little we do have and appreciate what we have. And there's more to life than just materialistic things. And it's all about the other person.
Sure. So, Tenari, you'd agree then that whatever environment we are given, that doesn't have to shape us. It's the values that we're raised with that makes a difference.
That should not dictate who you are. It's your heart. It's your heart to love the next person, and it's a love that basically loving strangers. You know, and we in Hawaii, we always say it's all about the aloha spirit. So being born and raised here, that's what it's all about, and we definitely should take that to heart and share it with the world.
What were some of those lessons, some of those values that your parents imparted to you, that you've kept with you all your life?
Again, first, love God.
Okay.
Be humble and love everybody. And we all make mistakes, and you always try to help your fellow man.
I love it when you say be humble and love everybody, because, you know, as I'm sitting here, I realize I don't want to meet you on the football field. So you had size as a natural advantage to you, strength and so forth. Did you have any challenges trying to learn to be humble?
Not necessarily, because my parents were very, very strict, and we're definitely founded on godly provisions and God first in all we do, and it's all about being humble. It's always about the other person, not about us. We were raised up to be servants, to have a mind of a servant, to serve others, and that's what led me to do what I do today as a police officer. I love serving people. I love helping those who are less fortunate than others.
So you saw becoming a police officer as a means of helping other people, helping humanity. Why did you go into the force? Was this right after high school?
Yeah, actually, right out of high school, I took the test. I was supposed to have gone into the department. My mom and dad always wanted us to go and get an education.
Sure.
But growing up in an athletic family with 7 boys and 4 girls, I ended up in New Mexico, of all places, Albuquerque, and compounded, fractured my ankle, and then short-lived college career. Came home, and shortly thereafter, Dad, God bless his soul, passed away from multiple heart attacks. And being a God-loving man, and I love my mom, I wanted to be that person for my mom and the rest of my siblings. So just gave up everything, but God has blessed me throughout in my career and the jobs that He's blessed me with, and just continue to serve people.
So in a sense, you kind of took some of the role of your father after he passed away to take care of your mother and all of your siblings.
Yes.
Wow, what did you learn from that experience?
Well, it's been good. When I got my first job, summer jobs that we have here in the islands, to the city and county. I first started my job when I was age 14. I met my wife later when I was 27 and got married a year later. Every paycheck that I got from day one, my first summer job, to the day I moved out to live with my wife, my future wife, who's my wife now for 26 years.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Every paycheck I signed over to my parents.
Well,
and they'll give me what they feel I deserve, because I can never repay my parents for what they've done for me and my siblings in raising us in low-income homes and literally giving us their shirt off their backs. So I felt that I owe it to my parents and my younger siblings.
You know, that is incredible. You know, I don't have anything against the fact that we as society try to organize structures like Social Security and programs to care for the elderly. But what you have demonstrated is that without government, without law, without society, your family raised you in such a way to take care of and to respect the parents. What a value. I mean, how different society would be if that were practiced in a very widespread way.
Well, Mom and Dad, hit it hard to us each and every day. Put God first, love your parents, love your siblings, and love everybody.
How about that? Now, you've got many accomplishments, but when you mentioned that you've been married to your sweetheart for at least 25 years, I want to congratulate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Patty and I have been married for about 31 or 2. Awesome. She knows. Wonderful, wonderful years. What's the key to maintaining a marriage, a happy marriage, I presume, over that period of time?
Understanding that love comes with, disagreements, and never take it personal. That's your life partner. And we have 3 beautiful daughters.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, 21, 19, and 10.
How about that?
I just love my wife, and like any other marriage, we have our ups and downs. But at the end of the day, we got married for a reason. It was founded on love. So I love my wife.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, you entered the police force, and again, that's about 25 years ago. What kind of career path did you have in the department?
I've been blessed in my whole career. I've been in plain clothes for almost 25 years, and you rarely find an officer. I mean, you can look at it from whichever way, but I've been blessed in my whole career. At one point, I was with the gang task force. From the gang task force, I was with the crime reduction unit, which is a plainclothes detail. And then for a good long period of my career, I was with the criminal intelligence unit. I know, Samoan criminal, you can probably relate to that. Samoan intelligence, that's a joke that I have amongst our peers here. But yeah, I had a great career, and God has been good. And today, I'm the acting lieutenant for our peer support unit that oversees the emotional help for our sworn personnel as well as our civilian personnel.
Now let me stop you here for a moment, because that's an interesting role, and I don't know if a lot of people know such a role exists. You're the acting lieutenant for peer support. In other words, we're talking about officers helping other officers to be emotionally well, to handle what they go through, and so forth. Well, what basically does an officer go through emotionally?
Well, a lot of times people don't realize that. Obviously, in the line of duty, that's just pretty obvious. But people don't realize the trauma of the work that we address out on the road every day, whether it's dealing with a homeless person, whether it's dealing with a sex assault victim. We feel the pain. Majority of our officers, if not 100%, one of the heinous crimes that we don't like dealing with, but we have to, because we need to take care of the victim and the family, is when we're talking about sex assault cases involving children. That's really, that hits to the core of our officers' hearts. So, but in the peer support unit, that's our primary function, to identify and recognize, making sure that our officers are mentally, emotionally, spiritually well to get back on the road.
Well, that's
so it's such a great unit, and credit goes to Chief Keli'i and our previous chiefs of police to have that vision that we have an interdepartmental unit as such to provide that emotional and spiritual support. And we oversee 6 chaplains from different denominations. We have a couple Christian pastors. We also have a Buddhist, and their job is not to promote their religion. Their job is to provide any type of spiritual support, but they're not there to promote their religion.
Well, now this sounds very fascinating, that in your role as an officer, you actually supervise the work of these part-time or adjunct chaplains who serve the department. Now, I'm sure you've been asked this question many times and so forth. What do you say when someone says, isn't this a conflict between church and state? Shouldn't the government be separate from religion? How do you respond to that? Have you ever had that
without
question?
a doubt, yes, and the chaplains face the same thing. But at the end of the day, it's about loving your fellow human beings, especially those who are tasked to serve the public, people in need. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but we not only provide emotional support for our sworn personnel, but also for our civilian population as well.
Those are the employees of the department?
Yes, civilian employees.
So and they're just as much a member of the team as the uniform.
Especially if you're a dispatcher and you're sending officers, you're literally firsthand taking a call of a victim who's either been raped, assaulted, or even a victim to a witness of a homicide.
Now, I'm sure that at the appropriate times you make referrals to medical and psychological professionals.
Yes.
But apart from those referrals, what then is it that you and your staff do in peer support?
Well, peer support, we're certified. We're protected by the law. Hawaii Revised Statute 78-52, which allows us as peer counselors to have the same protection as right to privacy as far as private conversations, up to the point where the officer threatens to hurt him or herself, criminal act, and of course suicidal tendencies. So it's very strictly confidential.
So you're able to tell an officer that he or she can tell you anything, and you won't report it.
Yes,
but you do draw a line, though, don't you? How do you draw that line?
Once we determine that, hey, this officer really needs psychological professional help, then that's when we would defer them and make a recommendation. We have 3 in-house psychologists, but we also have outside licensed physicians that we would recommend our officers to go to.
Well, that's incredible. Now, at some point, you became the union representative. How did your career path, in terms of the things you were doing there, set you up for that? Well, what is it that people looked at when they said, we want this guy to be the one to represent us?
That's a good question, Dr. Akina. When I first ran for the union, at one time, and again, I have the utmost respect for our forefathers in the union, they did what they felt was in their best interest. But at that time of my career in 2002, we felt as officers that there's so much more that our union could do, especially we were union due paid members. So I had no union experience. I was a faithful member, just paying my dues, come to work, love my job, go out there, serve and protect. But it got to a point where a lot of members were calling me, hey bro, can you just go run for the union? Had no union experience, prayed on it. Lord, if this way you want me to go, I'm going to continue to serve, because we're a non-paid union official, so it's volunteer.
That's incredible. You know, just 2 things just stand out to me immediately from what you said, and that was so rich. Number one, it was the other officers and the other members of the union who said, we want you to go and run. So this was very much a populist movement that you had won the respect of your peers. And secondly, you're not getting paid. Oh, now come on. You're not getting paid to do this. So you're still a police officer.
I'm still a full-time police officer.
And on top of that, you volunteer for the duties of the union.
Yes.
And, you know, I know what the union salaries are for leaders, because we've taken a look at that at Grassroots Institute. So you're not making $175,000 or $100,000, and nothing wrong perhaps for people who earn that, but you're making a big zero.
Big zero.
And you go to the negotiations, you represent the union and so forth. Well, that's incredible.
For the love of our members and their families. So I've been doing that for 12 years.
How about that?
For 12 years.
Now, there's quite a bit that goes on in terms of the leadership. You're not just a negotiator. I've seen you in action. In fact, I should tell our viewers here that Tenari has opened a wonderful invitation to me that whenever I can make it on a Tuesday night, I get together in an informal gathering. I think there were about 60 people from various unions and the public together. This is not an official function of SHOPO or of the police department, but it's part of the kind of informal leadership, a group of people getting together, helping each other become better people outside of regular hours and so forth. And then I know you do that at least a couple times a week, and you also meet with people in just meetings just to help them.
Yes.
So what kind of leadership do we call this? It's not the kind of leadership where your name is on the door and you've got the stripes on your shoulder.
Just a humble servant.
Humble
just thankful
servant.
for the opportunity. When you have men, especially with that ministry you're talking about, Dr. Akina here, it's about men standing up for what is right.
Well, that's
Whether it's
incredible.
standing up for Jesus or for the people in our community.
We're going to take a quick break now, but my guest today, Tenari Ma'afala, is an incredible leader. There are many ways to lead. One way is to say, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, but you'll never hear him say that I'm the acting lieutenant and you have to listen to me. What you will see is strength and honor, and we're going to hear a little bit more about that when we come back. I want to ask him what goes on in the heart and mind and life and family of a police officer, and take a look at something that the public rarely gets to see. But I'm Keli'i Akina, president of Grassroots Institute. You're watching Ehana Kako. Let's work together on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. Make sure you look up the program again later on at thinktechhawaii.com. We'll be right back after this short break. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard of Kumukuhua Theater, and when I was young I used to love watching Charlie Chan movies on Family Classic TV on Sunday afternoons. Our show at Kumukuhua that runs from August 22nd through September 22nd is called Will the Real Charlie Chan Please Stand Up? It's written by Nancy P. Moss and takes place right here in Chinatown. I really hope you'll come in and watch it. You will love it. It's everything about the movies that you loved and more. Go to kumukuhua.org to get more information and your tickets. We'll see you there.
Aloha, this is Jay Fidel. You know, ThinkTech and the Hawaii Venture Capital Association put on monthly luncheon panel programs at the Plaza Club here in Pioneer Plaza. Our program this time is on September 26th. It's called Solar in Hawaii. We're going to examine the solar industry and see what's in it for the long haul. We have a great panel, great moderator. We'll be sending out email on this. If you want to be in our email list to receive the details, check out thinktechhawaii.com. In any event, you can sign up for the program at hvca.org. Thanks. See you there. This is Jay Fidel. Mahalo.
Aloha and welcome back to Ehana Kako, which means let's work together. I'm Keli'i Akina, president of Grassroots Institute. Tenari Ma'afala is the president of the State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers, but he's more than just a figurehead. He leads people through strength and honor. And right now, I'm going to invite Tenari to share with us a little bit about what officers and civilian personnel who work in HPD go through, not only HPD, but all of the police forces throughout the state. In what way is this kind of work, Tenari, different from just every day going to an office and making money and coming back home?
Oh, great question, Dr. Akina. First and foremost, it's officers willing to place their lives on the line. For the most part, yes, Hawaii is a small place, but for the most part, most of them are strangers.
Well, we have a fairly large department because we're one of the largest police departments in Honolulu. And how many in HPD and then how many statewide are in the officers for whom you're responsible?
In the Honolulu Police Department, sworn personnel, maybe approximately 1,900.
But you're also responsible for non-uniformed individuals.
Correct. All civilian employees.
And
that's about another 500 or so.
And how about statewide?
Statewide, we have approximately 2,800 members that SHOPO represents. But for police officers, it's closer to 3,000. But you figure Honolulu itself, Dr. Akina, we're talking only 1,900 officers for 1 million people.
That's incredible.
Think about it seriously.
Well, you don't want to tell people. You don't want to tell the bad guys that.
Well, that's the reality, but we'll get the job done.
So in reality, we are somewhat short, really, in terms of what a city our size requires to maintain security.
Yes.
And I know you strategically have to place officers in different locations where there's a higher preponderance of crime, but we don't really want the bad guys to know how thin we really are, but we are.
Yep, the people need to know. I mean, the people of Hawaii, both the criminal element, with all due respect, for lack of a better term, and then our civilians, our people that live here, our visitors that come here, they need to know that our officers are doing the best they can. I talk 1,900 officers, Dr. Akina, but there's only literally 300 to 350 officers on an 8-hour shift.
Incredible. So here on the island of Oahu, we might have 350
at the most
officers. And what happens to them in terms of the workload or when something happens?
It's huge. They all got to respond. If it's something that's a matter of life and death, some would stand down, but the majority will start to work their way there, whether it's in Waianae or the furthest corner you can find in East Honolulu.
So they're not sitting at the coffee shop dunking donuts.
No. At times you might see, I mean, with all due respect, and we see that, and we're not perfect.
But they need a break, too.
Sure. And that's the time that they do to catch up the reports, on the reports that they need to do before they're done their shift. So yeah, it's just mind-boggling numbers, and people need to know that, so they understand. Again, we love the people of Hawaii. Yes, we officers try to be the best we can, but the bottom line, and I keep telling people, we're humans too. We're special human beings.
Even if there's no traumatic episode, there still is the stress of the amount of work needed to do with such a small police force and a huge population.
Yes.
Now tell me about some of the traumatic experiences that police officers get impacted with.
Well, the biggest thing is in the line of duty death. Anytime we lose a brother or sister officer in the line of duty, that really hits home for us. And like I said earlier, behind every badge is a mother, a father, a son, a daughter. So we're humans too. Bottom line, we're humans too. So we feel pain, we hurt, but we continue to do what we do with the best that we have. And it's all for the people, it's for our fellow human beings.
What are some of the negative ways of coping that are present amongst the force? And I'm asking this not in any way to cast aspersion or to point the finger, but I think you know that both of us were very, very much aware of some of the things our brothers in the force go through. What are some of those things that the public really needs to know about?
Well, first and foremost, like I said earlier, we're humans, so we're definitely susceptible to making mistakes, and we do. I'll be the first to admit, we do make mistakes, but we continue to do the best that we can. And again, for the most part, we love the people of Hawaii, and we're so thankful. Like anywhere else, it's the minority make all the noise, but the majority, for the most part, support our police officers. They're police officers. We're servants of our community, so we work for the people. So we do our best.
What's the prevalence of substance abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse on the force?
On the force, as far as alcohol, of course, and the stress of the job at least. But we have very strict guidelines for drug testing to make sure that we have the best of the best out there. But like I said earlier, we're humans too, so we do have our faults and our downfalls, but credit goes to our departments, both the Honolulu PD, Hawaii County PD, Maui PD, and Hawaii PD, and all the chiefs of police and the programs that they have in place. If officers have problems with whether it's spouse abuse, drug abuse, that they declare it and get help before it gets worse.
There's another area, of course, though, which is not drug abuse or substance abuse or necessarily even anything to do with the law, and that's the stress and pressure that takes place in the family, with spouses, with children, and so forth. Tell us a little bit about that.
And that's the reality of our job, and with all due respect to our beautiful island state that we call paradise, if you truly want to see the reality and the ugliness, if I may, pardon the expression, of our state, see it through the eyes of a police officer. It's brutal.
That's something. That really is. And when you do exercise the kind of leadership you do with the men and women who serve, how do you intervene? How do you help create wholeness? What takes place?
Well, if we keep telling everybody, especially the senior officers, and again, it's probably a local expression, but we take it to heart. If you love them, you got to tell them. If you see a brother or sister officer hurting, doing things wrong, you got to sit them down. Tell them, look, this is not in our best interest as a department. It's not in your best interest as an individual, because your action will probably lead to your families getting sued and being held liable. And the bottom line is we're all humans, so we're definitely susceptible to making mistakes. We're not immune.
So, in other words, don't cover it up. Don't just protect one another in that sense. Confront, intervene. Is that a message that has to be told over and over?
They know. Throughout our annual recall training that we have annually, and even interdivision and interdepartmental trainings, there's always constant reminders to make the right decision. Because your decision will not only impact you, but the people that's lined up behind you, your wife, your children, your spouse, and your family, your parents. Hawaii being Hawaii, we still have a lot of elderly men and women who still live at home with their parents, which is fine, which is good. But the fact of the matter is you not only represent the department, but more so your families.
Well, I'm very impressed with a moment in which I saw you in action in front of an auditorium full of men. And you took a typical local expression, if can. and they were just eating out of your hands, listening to all of these expressions over and over. What was that expression?
If can, and if no can, try can.
All right, if no can, try can. And so you're constantly trying to change the frame of reference.
Right.
Last week, my good friend Jay Fidel and I were talking about this expression. He taught me this Japanese expression, shikata ganai, which is, it can't be helped. We can't do anything about it. And of course, Jay doesn't believe that, but he says that's the malaise that we have here in Hawaii. So you don't believe that either. You even want to change an expression like if can.
Right. If can, if no can, try can.
Try can, and never give up that trying. So what is really the secret, or what is one of the important values in the kind of leadership that you exercise with people?
Love people. Love them as yourself. And it starts from home. Again, not to sound religious here, but I love God first, and that's who leads my life. And I try to follow His teachings and share that with the people. By me saying that, I'm no better than the next man.
Sure.
I fall, I make mistakes, but I'll continue to love my fellow human being.
What is it that police officers are looking for in someone whom they will consider a leader?
Somebody that's genuine, somebody that's willing to put their lives on the line for any other fellow officer, for any other fellow human being.
I know that in any structure in which there's hierarchy, whether it is the military, whether it is the corporation, or of course the police department, there's this temptation to use rank as the basis of leadership. What do you think about that?
That's fine for administrative purposes and protocol.
For the short term? For the
short term.
Sometimes when you have to say who runs over there, who does this?
Yeah, I always tell people rank should not define who you are. Your heart and your love for your fellow man is what defines you at the end of the day.
Well, that's incredible. One of the things that I've seen you do also is not just to lead, but very seriously to teach others how to lead. And so it's not a leadership that says, I've got the wisdom, follow me. It's a leadership that says, you get out there, you lead your peers, you lead your family, you lead society, and so forth. Tell me a little bit about that.
Like we always say, Mom and Dad always taught us to lead by example. Don't tell somebody something to do that you wouldn't do. So you go first.
So example is so very important.
Very important.
I'd imagine, especially in something like the police department, the way somebody lives as an example speaks volumes louder than what they just say.
Yeah, especially most police officers, especially when you're in certain specialized units, like for example the SWAT unit, you literally have your partner's life in your hand when you're going on a tactical mission. So the same mentality that I tell people and my good friends and those that I love, I'll die for you on a drop of a dime.
Wow. Yeah. That's something. And what are some of the greatest difficulties a leader faces in trying to inspire others to follow? What are some of the roadblocks to that?
Leading by example. Don't be a hypocrite. Don't expect somebody, you want to tell somebody to do something, yet you yourself wouldn't do it. So you want to lead? Go lead by example. Get out there. Do things that you know people wouldn't do unless you do it. So go lead and then coach them along.
In terms of visible things, I can see that very clearly. But what about the invisible side? How important is it that the leader's own character, the leader's private life and life at home be an example?
Quiet leadership. Don't just talk the talk, walk the talk. People's always watching. It's not that you're on a performance base, but be genuine, be who you really are. And that's why you have to condition your mind and your heart, especially, that if you tell somebody that you love them, make sure that resonates with everybody, not just that one person you're talking to.
Oh, thanks.
The more lives you can touch that way.
Well, Tenari, what you're saying just means so much, and I know it resonates with anyone in a leadership position or in society, whether it happens to be political or military or just in the workplace or in school or in the family. And that's why we're talking about strength and honor today with SHOPO President, my good friend Tenari Ma'afala. When we come back after this break, we're going to keep talking, but when we do so, we've invited some guests during each of the remaining quarters to join us and to talk a little bit about Tenari's leadership and the impact that he's had on their lives. This is Keli'i Akina, president of Grassroot Institute. Our program is called E Hana Kako, Let's Work Together. We'll be right back on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. Aloha.
I'm David Day, the host of Asian Review. This is a ThinkTech program in which we take the issues of the Asia-Pacific region, whether they be in business, in foreign policy, in national security, or geopolitics. And we take those issues and we try to probe down in some real depth. Maybe it's not always politically correct, but we get to the truth. We do things that the regular media can't do. And the reason that we can do those things is because we here at ThinkTech have the contacts, we have the network. And we can take the time and explore the issues in depth. Tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. here at ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm David Day.
Aloha, I'm Sharon Moriwaki with the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. Please join Jay Fidel and me every Wednesday, 4 o'clock p.m. on Energy Wednesday. See you then. Aloha, I'm Sharon.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is ThinkTech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, ThinkTech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is ThinkTech. I'm Jay Fidel. Mahalo.
Hi, my name is Attila Saras, and I'm the host for ThinkTech Friday, a weekly radio show about things that matter to Hawaii. You can tune in every Friday at thinktechhawaii.com. Hi, my name is Attila Saras, and I'm the host for ThinkTech Friday, a weekly radio show about things that matter to Hawaii. You can tune in every Friday at thinktechhawaii.com.
With the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. Please join Jay Fidel and me every Wednesday, 4 o'clock p.m. on Energy Wednesday. See you then. Aloha.
Aloha. Welcome back to E Hana Kako. Let's Work Together, a weekly broadcast on ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. I want to say thanks to my good friend Jay Fidel, who puts in many hours, lots of money, and more than that, great talent in producing this programming every week. Jay is our producer and commander-in-chief of ThinkTech Hawaii. You can find the everything that we do on thinktechhawaii.com. Now today we're talking about strength and honor, and I'm back here again with the head of SHOPO, State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers, Tenari Ma'afala, and we're going to bring some other people on board just to chat a little bit more about strength and honor. Tenari, you've been doing a great job today.
Thank you for having me.
And I just think it's amazing. The police department, all of the people who are in uniform, as well as those who are not, really owe you a lot. Now, before we go on and meet your guest today, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you do in your role as the SHOPO president. in other words, the head of a union. And there are a lot of misconceptions about what it is that unions do and what they stand for and so forth. And you already do something far beyond most union heads. You really function as in some ways, a counselor, a chaplain, a personal leader to the people whom you serve. But what do you do in your SHOPO role?
Like you mentioned earlier, I'm Dr. Akina. I am the president of the union. And the directors, the board of directors for SHOPO, 11 of us, we're all sworn police officers, active police officers,
all right.
But we're volunteer union officials. So we're still the head of the union, and the only personnel that's paid is our civilian personnel for SHOPO.
They're the staff who carry out the clerical work and all of that for the union. Now, this is incredible. Let me just make sure that we've got this right. Being a union rep in SHOPO, being the president of the union, conducting negotiations, all of this is done voluntarily on top of your other duties.
Yes, voluntarily.
So nobody is paid.
Nobody's paid by staff.
That's incredible. So it's really a work of the heart.
I love my people.
Well, that's incredible. Now tell me what it is you do as SHOPO head.
Well, basically contract negotiations and day-to-day operations, making sure that our staff is, again, fully staffed and they get what they need, whether it's computer things or anything to function daily, and representing all the officers across the 4 counties. We represent approximately 3,000 officers across all 4 counties collectively. And that's our primary function, to oversee the day-to-day operation of the union from Monday to Friday and representing the officers' collective bargaining rights.
What are some of the major issues that you face? What's one?
Basically, wrongful implementation of management's rights.
Okay.
And in disciplining officers if it's too excessive and so forth. We're always about that. We've always told the officers that right is right, wrong is wrong, and fair is fair. You know, whatever the facts of the case may be, we'll stand by them and we'll argue the case.
And I know I've picked up just hanging around you and so forth that when there's an issue and so forth, there may be a time in which the officer involved is down there at your office and there's some counseling going on, and there's a real personal representation to the union, and to the management.
That's what we like about our makeup, and it's obvious. It starts with the board of directors that governs the union. It shows our commitment to our officers, because we're not doing it obviously for pay. So we just love our fellow officers, and then what we call our legends, our retirees, we honor them just as well in what we do.
When it comes to negotiation, what are some of the tougher issues? Do they have to do with hours, with wages? Would it be that
a lot
level?
of times, being real, it's about wages and making sure that our officers get parity compared to other West Coast departments. So making sure that our officers, so we don't lose our good officers. A lot of our local brothers, I would say maybe 8 to 10 years ago, and as recent as 6 years, we had officers just leaving to go to for better paying jobs.
Now, didn't that in part have to do with the shortage in many police departments across the nation, the outstanding training they got in Hawaii, and the fact that we had such a high cost of living and low salaries that mainland departments were actually setting up tables right outside the department to recruit our officers?
Exactly, they were taking the best of the best. And credit goes to our chiefs of police, past and current, with Chief Louis Kellogg being the most current. The training, our level of training is comparable to bigger departments like California, even New York, on the East Coast. So we're right up there, and that's why a lot of these out-of-state jurisdiction will come here and recruit our officers back then. But thankfully, with what we've done in the past several years in getting our officers pay parity, we have more of our officers staying home. We even had a few that came back home. So those who have left, we honor them. They're doing what's best for their family and providing for their families' fiscal needs and putting food on the table for them. So we honor them. We miss them. We don't agree with it, but we're thankful that we're at a stage now where we have people from the mainland coming here wanting to work in Hawaii.
Well, that's a great turnaround, because we actually, as you pointed out earlier, still have a shortage of officers, and that creates a vulnerability in a sense for the city and the state.
The one numbers that I always share with people when we talk about it, you talk about not sufficient manpower. The whole department, there's 1,900 officers here in Honolulu. There's almost 1 million people on any given day here in Hawaii.
That's incredible. A lot of people may not realize that we're between the 10th and 12th largest city in the United States. Yet we have a police department for the entire city and county in Honolulu. So it is really one of the larger departments.
It is.
So your job is a big one. Now you've brought somebody I know, a dear friend Edgar, but I want to let you introduce Edgar to our audience today.
Edgar Hawkins and I have a great story. I thank God every day for my loving family. We have our annual 4th of July picnic out at Kapiolani Park. So this year we're out there, and Edgar and I met, and we invited him, and he's part of our family now, and love this guy. His heart for the people of Hawaii. He's originally from South Carolina. He came out here, and I'll let him share his story. But
sure,
great man.
Well, welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you on board. So tell us, when you came here from South Carolina, what were your circumstances, and how did you get connected with this guy, Tenari?
Well, I was running a computer IT business in South Carolina that was successful, and I was working on getting into some broadcasting work.
Well, you've got a beautiful voice. Maybe you should be the moderator here.
But in my heart, I was longing for guys who were like me and my father had as friends. And I really wasn't seeing a lot of that going on the mainland. And I was actually praying for some guys like that to come into my life. And I took like 3 weeks to make a decision to go ahead and shut down the IT business in South Carolina. I did a little research, and there's a brain drain going on here where a lot of guys that do IT leave here to make more money somewhere else. And I'm thinking, why would they leave Paradise to do that? So I relocated here. I had a condo to stay in for a while. I didn't get employment as quickly as I thought I would, and I ended up moving into Kapiolani Park. So I was sleeping there in the park. I woke up one morning, and I met eyes with Tenari and his family on the 4th of July. I needed somebody to watch my belongings, and I just knew I could trust him. So I asked him to watch my belongings. He did.
He looks like a trustworthy person.
Well, there was something in his eyes that just got to me, and he said the same thing too. We made a connection, and it was really strange. But I knew in my heart I could trust this guy. He didn't have on a uniform. I've never seen him in uniform. I did not know he was a police officer, and I think we were meant to meet under those circumstances, so we just be friends. And I would see a uniform to respect him as a person and a man. Before I could take off, I have to say that his wife came to me and said, "You're going into town. Have something to drink. Have something to eat." And I said, wow, this is the aloha spirit I've been hearing about. I went into town. I was gone several hours. I came back. Everything was fine. And then he invited me to join his family for something to eat. And then later on, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I'm adopting you into my family." And I was thinking like, okay. And then he said, "No," and straightened me out. I said, "No, you're part of my family now. If you need anything, call me." And he sincerely meant it.
So you have an encounter in the park with an undercover police officer, and in the process get adopted into his family. Okay, now I don't know if we hear that story every day or read about it in the newspaper. Now, I want to hear the rest of the story quickly, and I don't want to cut it off. So we've got about a minute and a half before the break. So why don't you give it to us?
Well, since then, I have met the guys at the meeting we have at Shopo Hall. Someone else invited me, not Tenari, because he's very unassuming. And I found about 70 guys who were just like the guys I was looking for to be friends like that.
That's our Tuesday night meeting, right?
And not guys who are perfect, but they all have a heart to be real upstanding men and leaders of their household. Everybody shows love. They're all concerned for my well-being. And since then, I've done a 60-second radio spot. I was instrumental in helping get the concert at the Waikiki Shell going. I've been interviewed on the radio twice, and we did a TV commercial with Tenari. So things have really moved along. And I don't feel like I'm homeless. I'm just houseless while I'm sleeping in the park. And I have office space I can take advantage of during the day to keep plugging away to find gainful employment. But it's been a blessing. I've even been helping to feed homeless people.
Well, that's wonderful. Probably due to our high cost of living and other factors, you currently don't have your own residence. But obviously, you are a professional, you are productive, you are contributing to our economy, to our society, you are helping Tenari in his work of reaching out and peer counseling and so forth.
Yes.
And I think that breaks a stereotype, don't you think?
Well, yeah, and it's not hard to stay productive because people do have a need dealing with IT work. And when people hear a voice that they like, they're interested in buying products and services represented by that voice. I've gotten very favorable reviews for the work I've done so far in broadcasting.
That's wonderful to hear.
So it's been awesome.
You know what I like, Tenari, is that you have helped to restore and empower somebody of great worth, great value, great capacity, rather than him being treated like a stereotype or anything like that. And I think that shows the kind of leadership that you exercise.
I think it's more than leadership. It's just loving humanity. It's the aloha spirit. And it doesn't matter where you're from, the color of your skin, who you are, man. It's just love a fellow human being. If we can all do that as a nation, we rid of a lot of these problems.
What if somebody were to say to you, but isn't that going above and beyond what you're called to do as a police officer? Isn't this just a little bit more than what we want our police officers to do?
Well, it's not about me. It's about my fellow human being. And I met this brother, and every day I think about him, I pray for him, and someday God will put a roof over his head according to God's will.
They call me and check on me, everything. This guy really walks the walk. He doesn't just talk the talk. And it's an honor to be associated with such people, himself and the assistant chief that is part of our men's group, and guys like yourself. That's very encouraging me. I don't feel like a homeless person.
Well, Edgar, I'm so glad to hear your story, and I wish you the best. I look forward to hehearing the rest of the story as we see what happens in the months and the years to come. Boy, this is really exciting stuff. It's good stuff, isn't it? Tenari and Edgar over here, we're talking about strength and honor as a way of leadership. You're watching Ehana Kako. I'm Keli'i Akina, president of Grassroots Institute, thanking ThinkTechHawaii.com for being a place where we can put this kind of material out there so people can be encouraged. We'll be right back after this very short break. Aloha.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is the Senior Executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
Hi, this is Jay Fidel of ThinkTech. We have some great shows during the business week. We broadcast 2 or 3 times every afternoon between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. I just want to mention also that we have a new show. This is The Arts of Life with Willow Chang. Check it out at 2 to 3 p.m. every Friday. Aloha, this is Jay Fidel.
Hi, thank you for tuning in. My name is Attila Saras, and I'm the host for ThinkTech Fridays. Join us online 24/7, 365 days a year at ThinkTechHawaii.com. We're talking about things that matter to Hawaii and around the world. My name again is Attila Saras, and I'm the host for ThinkTech Fridays. Mahalo.
Well, very good. Aloha and welcome back to Ehana Kako. Welcome back. It's our weekly program here on ThinkTechHawaii.com. I'm Keli'i Akina, president of Grassroots Institute, talking today about strength and courage with my friend Tenari Ma'afala, who is the president of SHOPO, the State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers. We've been chatting a lot about what constitutes leadership, about changing the lives of people, about transforming individuals with a heart of believing in what they can become. And we're going to introduce you to another friend of Tenari in just a moment. But Tenari, this has been a wonderful conversation. I've enjoyed listening to you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, you're wearing a shirt because I should say to our viewers that this is not some kind of advertisement. The fact is, you just drove down from the North Shore of Oahu from a camp at which you'd been volunteering to make it here in time to the broadcast studio. Camp Agape, tell us a little about what they do with the young people that they're working with.
This is a great program that's put on by Pastor Roy Yamamoto with New Hope, and it's open to all churches, and basically it's 150 children of incarcerated parents, children of parents who's incarcerated that they've not seen for years and probably won't see for many more years.
Wow.
So it's just multiple churches coming together just to love on these kids and to share the weekend with them and help them get inspired and motivated that it'll be okay, that your Hanai family here loves you. So we're here to love you, and with your mom and dad, someday you guys be reunited. But.
The problem of incarceration goes well beyond the individual in jail. Yeah. It's the family that has to wait, the family that has to go through the wandering, and the family that is impacted by the loss of a father, the loss of a mother. And so this is an incredible thing. So how much do they pay you to help them?
Free. It's free.
Again, I mean, do you get paid for anything? Of course. Yeah, I love it. You know, you've got this network of volunteers, of which you are a model, of giving back to society out of the heart, and it's an incredible thing taking place. Now, tell me, how do these kids respond there at the camp when you bring in other police officers, you bring in community members, and
these are the churches
and
various churches.
Yes.
And like I said earlier, Pastor Roy Yamamoto, who was with New Hope, and then they work together with Inspired Church, Pastor Mike Kai, out in Leeward, Oahu. So multiple churches come together just to love on these kids and help them along the way, especially with their parents being incarcerated.
How do the kids respond?
Oh, they love it. They don't want it to end, and I don't blame them. And that's why it's so key that we, as church leaders that love these kids, to make sure that we stay in touch with them, and be the parents that for them for now until their real parents, biological parents, come home.
Well, that's incredible. You know, we've been talking about leadership, and before we close today's program, I want to get some of your more formal thoughts about who a leader is, what a leader does, how we encourage leadership amongst people who usually are in a corporate structure, but where leadership needs to go beyond that corporate structure.
Well, just be humble. Just be humble. Love people genuinely. Don't be a front just for performance basis. Just love everybody as best as you can. We're all humans. We have our down days, but always think about somebody else. And one thing my parents always have taught us: God bless those who honor Him by putting the needs of others first. So it's always about others first before us.
I can only imagine that for someone who is trained to be aggressive, trained to be assertive as a police officer must, with emblems of authority such as a badge, a gun, and rank, and so forth, that it must be a challenge to be humble. Do you find that's the case for you and your fellow officers?
I would say in the early stages of my career, maybe the first 10 years of my career, because I also focus on fighting crime.
Yes.
And anybody who violated somebody's rights, the innocent, I took it personal. I literally threw the law book at them that, hey, you're going to go away for a long time. But I got a rude awakening that, that's a fellow human being that I'm putting away for probably a long time. So what goes a long way that I found even more is such a blessing is when I do encounter these individuals. Again, life is about choices. You make good choices, you reap the benefits. You make bad choices, you suffer the consequences. So you can still put somebody behind bars, if I could use that expression, with love. And that person would respect you even more because they'll realize that, hey, you have a job to do, but you're human enough to respect me as a person. I made a bad choice, you recognize that, and they learn more that way versus the heavy hand of the law.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Well, thank you, Tenari. Tenari, you brought us another friend here today, and it's great to see some of the people whom you've had the opportunity to influence. So I'm looking forward to meeting Jimmy over here. Why don't you introduce him?
Hi, this is Brother Jimmy Vo, and just like Brother Edgar earlier, we all love God, and again, we're not here to promote any religion, but just a love for a fellow human being. And Jimmy has blessed me with his testimony, and I don't want to take any more of his thunder, so I'll let him share his testimony. And former military guy too, serving our country. So he has a very, very powerful testimony.
Oh, it's great to meet you.
Well, welcome to the program, Jimmy, and thanks a lot for serving our country. Were you in Iraq?
Yes, I did. I actually did 2 tours in Iraq, and I did one in Afghan. 4 years. I did my basic 4 years in the Marine Corps.
Are you from Hawaii or somewhere else?
No.
So what brought you here, and what were your circumstances when you came?
I just finished out. I finished out my last year.
Okay.
And I was thinking about going back to Texas, but I got stuck here. Well, by the nature of here, it's just so beautiful, so awesome. It eases and calms my mind, and I love it here.
So what got you hooked up with this gentleman here, Tenari?
Well, it's basically one of his fellow men, introduced me to the men's ministry as well, and I thought it was something good to check out, and finding out that such a magnificent ministry that he has running going on, just men to men talking, embracing, and loving each other, and understanding, the things, what everybody has to go through, and we listen to each other. That's the big thing about it, with a humble heart.
Well, yeah, I know you listen to each other, and just the times I've been able to be there, I was always impressed at the early days how everybody got a chance to get up and say something and going around the circle, and that was like a dozen guys and the 20 guys and the 30 guys, and then the whole night was spent going around the circle, and you get 70 guys there, and you've evolved in your management. Now it's, we got time for 3 guys, but it actually ends up being more than that. So
Yes.
What is it that you've learned since coming out and communing with, challenging each other, being part of a peer network? What are some of the lessons that you've learned?
Big thing is letting go of pride, ego, humbling yourselves, and being able to listen with a more clearer mind, open heart, and if can, keep each other accountable.
Accountable in what kinds of things?
If I have a few of the fellow men there that, they would like for me to call them once a week, see how things are going, if there's anything they want to talk about, personal things. So it's just keeping in contact makes them feel much more at ease. They know that there's good men out there that still care, and there's not about pride or anything like that, with an open heart.
So what do you think it is? And I don't want to put Tenari on the spot here or aggrandize him too much or anything or challenge his humility, but what is it about Tenari that makes him someone who is encouraged to move toward leadership, to have the trust of the police department, to be somebody who has inspired many, many others? What is it about him? What do you see?
I see it's just the act of his heart. The way how he represents himself, not only on the force but off duty as well, and the things that he does for the community, for his ministries, it just leads me to him that I see him as a very high peer, and ultimately I do look up to that as well, so that I can bring that into my own community and especially to my family as well.
Well, thank you. Really glad to have you on the program, Jimmy. Tenari, you and I have talked a little bit. I've shared with you that on my heart is a vision of Ehana Kako. Let's all just work together, uniting Hawaii's people for a better economy, a better government, a better society. That's what I get to work on as part of Grassroots Institute. And I know we share this vision. Well, what do you see as being crucial to really improving the quality of life here in Hawaii? What will make that difference? Love in what way?
That's what's missing.
But let me put you on the spot
Sure.
a little bit. I mean, what if somebody says, isn't that kind of wishy-washy, Tenari? Isn't that just kind of like feeling and so forth?
No, there's genuine love and performance love. Performance love is just superficial. Genuine love is literally, we've heard the expression time and time again, giving your shirt off your back to your fellow man.
Wow, that's
You
incredible.
got to do it. Do it. Say it and mean it, and go do it. Don't just speak it.
Well, with that, we're going to have to say goodbye to our audience today, but you heard it from Tenari Ma'afala, the president of SHOPO. What an unusual union leader who definitely is carrying out the hard-nosed task of negotiating contracts for his union, but at the same time is demonstrating a kind of leadership of people that I believe is truly transformative for Hawaii and for the world. And this is what we believe in as something possible. I know that Jay Fidel and Hawaii ThinkTech promote leadership that goes beyond the boundaries. We certainly do that at Grassroots Institute, where I have the privilege of serving. And so I want to thank you for having been with us today. You can find a copy of this program and many others at thinktechhawaii.com. Until next time on Ehana Kako, let's work together. Aloha. Aloha to you. Very good.